magic for a good blaster at your side.
Welcome to Hokie Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This episode, we are going to talk about episode 9. As always, this is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Welcome to episode 80.
80!
That's a big number.
Mm-hmm. Way more than we ever thought
Way
would
more
be
than
possible
ever
or
warranted.
would have in us.
Do we have it in us? Let's find out.
It's pretty obvious at this point. We do not have anything in us. And this is...
There's definitely nothing in me right now. Michael, so you were playing Battlefront 2 this past week.
I was.
The Star Wars video game by the world-renowned EA.
World respected.
Yeah, world-respected
by
and not...
gamers and non-gamers
and not
alike.
under criminal investigation by Belgium, Electronic Arts.
Totally not under criminal investigation in a foreign country.
Right.
EA. I was playing Battlefront 2, and it is very bad.
Were you playing it?
No, that's the problem.
That's the bad part?
That's the bad part. The parts that I could play. This is like how long has this game been out? A year? Over a year now.
Talking, I'll find out.
I was playing the single player stuff for a little while, and I stopped for a little while. The single player stuff was good, better than I thought it would be. And then I started playing the arcade mode where you could play as all the heroes and all that crap.
It came out November 17th, so it has not even been a year.
November?
Last November,
okay.
2017. So it has not even been a year
feels
yet.
Like it's been out for years. Okay, so it hasn't even been out for a year yet. I was playing the arcade mode with all the heroes and stuff. I will say the graphics are incredible.
Oh, yeah, it looks great.
It's mind-blowing.
It always looks great.
The Theed Palace looks incredible. I mean, it's just... And playing as Darth Maul is really fun. And a lot of the other heroes are really fun too, but Darth Maul was, I think, the best. The part I like most about that is every other lightsaber wielder has a defend mode where you can put your blade up and block shots.
Okay.
The control for Darth Maul for that is just rush.
You just run.
So there's no defending.
Nice.
You just rush your enemy, which I thought that was really... It's like he goes into a rage mode and just goes straight into him. It's fun. So, fine. Great. That's all good. Wonderful. Arcade mode. Great. It's like a quarter of the game right there. So I try to go into the multiplayer, the main attraction of the game. Every single map, every server connection dies. It takes me 30 seconds to try to connect to a server. And finally, the response at the end, the request timed out. I couldn't join a server, all that junk. I tried for 30 or 45 minutes, just trying different modes. I don't care which. I tried Ewok Hunt. I tried the Ewok Hunt. I tried the I tried the 40-player one, the heroes, all that stuff. Nothing. Couldn't even get into the game.
And this is on console, right?
No, this is PC.
Oh, this is on PC.
I got it for PC.
That's right.
Because I got the first Battlefront for console, and I couldn't play with anybody because everyone I knew had it on. Well, yeah. The people that I did know that got it played it for a month and then went on to Destiny or whatever the latest thing was.
Right. I will say PC games like that do go even quicker, I think, than console games do. As far as the player base. As far as attention? Like the player base, the attention span.
Yeah, well, there's always a new PC.
Not to mention, Battlefront 2 came out and had the whole stink about it with the loot boxes and everything. Yeah. Which they've supposedly fixed.
There are still crates, and that you can pay for, but it's not like you can unlock all of the main pieces of the game through just playing. Right. You don't have to buy crates to get that stuff anymore. Right. Fine.
It's just cosmetics it just takes, in the boxes.
Well, it takes forever though to unlock that stuff.
Well, yeah. Like if you wanted to unlock everything, I think it was like I saw somewhere someone did the math and it would take like 10 years or something to unlock everything in the game if you played like a normal amount of time every day.
Yeah, if you're not grinding through stuff, there's no way.
Right.
I don't know if that's changed since then, but the only way you can do that is playing multiplayer.
And no one's playing multiplayer.
I can't even play multiplayer. I want to.
You and I can just play each other.
Yeah, we'll play each other.
Later. Well, I'm sorry that your video games don't work, old man.
I want to play video games. I only have 10 minutes.
I think I do feel... I don't feel bad for EA ever, so I'm not even going to say that. It sucks that there was so much happening with Battlefront when it first came out. That was just all this stink about the crates and all of that I think pushed away a lot of fan base because one, it is a good game and it's beautiful and it controls well.
Yeah.
But in the classic style of EA, they can't just let a good game
be.
It just can't. They can't lie as a good game. It has to have all this shit piled on top of it that you have to shovel through to get to the good game.
Exactly.
Which is why they're being investigated for FIFA in Belgium, as supposedly as a criminal organization, is what Belgium considers them, a criminal organization, because gambling is illegal in Belgium. And they did not take out the loot boxes according to what Belgium requires in FIFA 19.
FIFA? Yeah.
And Belgium now considers them a criminal organization, and they're under investigation.
FIFA is a criminal organization, but so is EA.
I would not.
They're in good company.
I would not disagree with EA being a criminal organization with its video game practices and killing off all of the good game ideas that they had for Star Wars to make loot boxes. Not even a game, just to make, I don't know.
Yeah, those games weren't replaced with anything, were they?
No.
I mean, as far as we know.
Not that has been announced, no. Well,
is EA...
There was a game announced at E3 this past year that was just like, we're making a Star Wars game, like, end quote.
I thought that was one of the games that got killed off that was being written by that lady.
No, it was just like, I think it was one, like, only announced, like, that's all they had to say about it.
Was this after the news came out after...
It was Jedi Fallen Order, remember?
No, I don't remember this at all.
So
what were the two? There were two Star Wars games being developed, right? And they both got canned.
Yeah, so this is the one from Respawn who made Titanfall.
Okay, I don't remember this at all.
Okay, yeah, it was Respawn CEO just teased its first Star Wars game just by showing the title, which was called Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay, interesting.
That was all they gave us, and that was during E3, and they're aiming for a holiday 2019 release.
Okay.
I think we talked about this many episodes ago. That it was from Respawn who made the Titanfall games, which are again like really well. They're beautiful. They play really well. The controls are fantastic, but it's another one of those.
That's an EA game.
It's another one of those online multiplayer games.
Does EA distribute that for PC?
I think EA owns Respawn or is the publisher.
I'm pretty sure because I think you can get Titanfall through Origin. Anyway.
Yeah.
The only Star Wars games I remember, the ones that got canned, were the one from the Uncharted studio, right? Or at least like the head writer
of Uncharted. From Uncharted was doing one, which looked great, and they had video of the game, like they had playable
and it looked
stuff.
Amazing. Yeah,
right.
Oh, was that the Underworld one?
No, that was before
one, right?
That was before Disney bought Star Wars, and that was the 1313, which was
there was that, but then wasn't there
Underworld
also
game.
An Underworld game that kind of was separate from 1313? I could have sworn
I don't recall, honestly.
Anyway, they're all dead now,
well,
apparently.
Yeah, except for Jedi Fallen Order, which it's from Respawn, who makes gorgeous games, but all their games again have been like Battlefront, where they're like online multiplayer.
Yeah,
just various different types of online games with, in Titanfall's case, giant robots, which it's a really fun and great game. I just suck at those multiplayer games because I don't live playing the game all the time. So I kind of hope it's not that, but given the title Jedi Fallen Order sounds more like an actual game, maybe. I don't know.
Right. That's why I like Horizon Zero Dawn and
playing a video game like they were originally
exactly.
They originally existed, just playing a story.
Straight single player, great story.
Yeah.
That's
what I love about the new Tomb Raider games. All of them have been fantastic in the stories and
that's more of
everything's been great.
That's more of the RPG than like Tomb Raider's not really an RPG. That's more of just a story exploring kind of game, right?
I mean, what game hasn't put in RPG elements of upgrading your stuff and getting different outfits and things that affect different stuff?
Yeah.
Same thing with the Middle Earth Mordor games.
Yeah, and Assassin's Creed. Or no, not. I don't know.
Assassin's Creed, the newer ones, Origins and Odyssey, have definitely gone way more RPG with like skills and
but not the older ones. The older ones didn't really have that stuff. The older ones were more like Uncharted, where it was just exploring.
Yeah, the most recent Uncharted or not Uncharted of Assassin's Creed, you actually have like your weapons like take damage and you can repair your weapons and you get different levels of weapons that do more damage and stuff like that. So it turned way more RPG than before.
Nice.
But yeah.
Anyway.
So hopefully there's an actual Star Wars game coming next year that's not Battlefront 2 or a loot box delivery service.
Did you ever do any of those loot crate type things, subscription things? I think that's one of the dumbest things.
What, subscription boxes? Like real life subscription loot boxes?
Real life loot crates.
Yeah, I did the the Star Wars Funko Pop thing.
What's in that stuff?
Given all of the Funko Pops up there on that shelf.
That's where all those came from?
Most of them, yeah.
Is it worth it? I think it's one of the dumbest things you could
do. It's
fun,
but you just end up with a bunch of stuff that takes up space.
Yeah.
It came every time you'd get a shirt, a pin, a patch, a pop, and then like some other item.
And you pay like $60 a month or something?
It was less than that. It was like 30 or 40. Okay. It was less. And those are less often than every month.
Do they choose for you, or do you choose?
Well, the Funko one, like the Funko one specifically, are like themed boxes every other month or something like that. I think it's every 2 months or every 3 months, something like that.
Can you like only get the themed ones?
Like this month, that month's is it's like, they did one for Cloud City, and so all the stuff was related to Cloud City. There's a Cloud City pop.
Oh, I thought theme like you meant like franchise. No, but it's all Star Wars stuff.
Like the one I did was just for Star Wars. They have one just for Marvel. I think they have one just for Disney. For Funko Pop specifically. But like Loot Crate is just like, this month is villains, and it's just a box of random villain stuff. Maybe I think every time there is like a shirt and then whatever else. Okay. But I think all of them, like every subscription geek box always comes with a shirt. Like all of them do, as far as I'm aware. And yeah, you end up with just a lot of stuff that sits around. But at least the pops are cool. And I've sold some of them. The ones that I just didn't need ones? Or not. Because a lot of them only come in those boxes. Oh. So unless you get those boxes, then you can't get the pop, and there's a lot of people that collect those, so like, I don't need so many of these up there anymore since they're now touching the ceiling. To eBay I go.
I mean, I buy enough stuff voluntarily, enough toys and shit that I
just come home with random crap all the time. I don't need a box to help me with that.
That's what happens. Usually I could say, "Oh, my son, I've bought this for you."
After your wife asked you, "Why do you have this?" "Oh, it's for the kids."
The son. him.
That. You quick, come here. This is for you. Don't touch it.
You boy on the street.
Well, for those of us that don't leave our homes, we don't have that option. We have to have the junk delivered to us.
Jeez, it's so bad.
How am I expected to go to the store to buy random crap when someone could bring random crap to me?
Everything is a subscription now.
Yes.
You subscribe to everything you want. These are all the things I
subscribed to my dog's food.
And I could constantly just be hit with waves of things that I enjoy.
Not even that. It's just like I have a subscription for my dog's food, so I don't have to remember to buy him food. It just comes every 2 months.
Just buried in everything.
I don't want this responsibility of living. Just do it for me. How am I supposed to keep this dog alive that I decided to get?
Here's my
Bring
money.
it food so it doesn't die.
Here's my money.
Yeah, that's...
Live me.
That's basically, yeah. Just like all the grocery stores that have drive-up pickup for your groceries now, and somebody else just gets everything for you.
So if you could upload yourself into a robot or a computer or something, would you do that? That just took care of everything for you? You could just
not a bad idea.
You could just exist in whatever means is possible.
Whatever dreamscape.
Whatever
I decided.
Whatever definition of existence you want to put on it.
We're getting there. It's happening sooner rather than later.
You could have all the loot crates you want in Sims world.
No, then someone will burn me down in my kitchen just for fun. All right. I think this is a Star Wars podcast. That we've talked about very little about Star Wars.
All right.
I heard that you started reading a book that was Star Wars related.
I was going to say, I started reading a Tom Clancy book.
Nope. Yeah, when you told me that. Even
from 1993.
You're trying to catch up through the years on books in general?
Might as well start here.
I'm up to 93, guys. I'll get to the new books.
No.
Eventually.
That's where I started.
No, you just started at 93.
Tom Clancy,
the book,
1993.
The year of the novel.
The book that started it all.
Jack Reacher 17 or whatever.
What are these books things?
He writes.
Better start at the beginning. Tom Clancy, 1993.
What books does he? It's not Jack Reacher. It's the other guy.
John Reacher.
John Thompson.
Reach around Johnson.
No, it's the movies where the guy does all the stuff.
Oh, Tom Clancy.
He does the writing.
Jack Ryan. You're thinking
Jack Ryan. Thank you. Jack Reacher. Jack Ryan.
Oh my God, Tom
all...
Clancy. He looks like that.
Is it that upsetting?
Oh, geez, that is upsetting. Look at that.
Oh yeah. Most of those,
that's terrible.
Most of those those older men novelists, they look like the books they write.
Yikes.
So, but
yeah, he did Hunt for Red October and the Jack Ryan stuff,
right?
And yeah, Sum of All Fears, all that.
Yeah. So instead of starting in '93,
but I didn't start with any of those. No, I started with a different one.
You didn't just start like in the 10th Jack Ryan book.
No,
for no reason.
Even worse, just some one-off. And it's like, the size of those old like horror crime thriller books, like
any book in an airport bookstore
that your grandmother would read.
Yeah, like the Harlequin romance novel. Yeah. Like it's that size.
It's
like
that big, thick, but
it's
like
an inch and a half. It's like an inch and a half deep and like.
Like tiny, compact book,
like less than 6 inches tall.
It's like 6 inches thick. It's a cube, book cube. It's
you have to pry it open and hold down when you're in the middle, especially.
But the cover falls off instantly. Right. You can't keep the cover on. It tears away.
Two bins and like all of the letters have fallen off the front.
Yes. Yeah. So I started with the first book.
Got it.
The
first.
Then I decided
the first novel.
Maybe I should start with a Star Wars book after that.
One that I have not read.
Yes, Last Shot.
I started reading that, and then we had a baby, and then I make excuses. I supported my wife in her endeavors of having a child.
Okay.
And that took up time. And then Thrawn came out, and I was like, screw this book. Thrawn's out.
How much did you read of it?
The first chapter.
That's it? Really?
Yeah, that's all I got through.
Okay.
I was like, I'll definitely be able to read.
The chapters are short, too. They're like...
I was like, I'll definitely be able to read while I have this newborn child, and that never happened. Oh, the naivete of my youth.
Of a year ago.
Yeah, not even.
So, anyway, yes, Last Shot. I started Last Shot. I'm about almost halfway through it now. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm getting there. I only started a few days ago, so to be halfway through,
But now you're back. That was when you weren't working, and now you're back to work, and you'll never finish it.
I'll never read it ever again.
Nope.
I'll never read another book.
Didn't you stop the Aftermath series just like in the middle of a book?
The first one.
Oh, that's sad.
I did not read the second or the third one.
They get even better.
They're in my library. I just haven't read them. It's still in my Kindle. It's like a third finished or something. I just stopped and I never went back, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Your Kindle's like a Netflix queue. You're just like, oh no, I'll add that book in. I'll get to it, and then you're still watching The Office for the 15th time.
Partly because my son goes and gets my Kindle and buys romance novels.
He needs to know. I think he's trying to tell you something. He's ready for some understanding.
He's ready for romance.
Dad, if you're not going to tell me about this, I'm going to figure it out myself.
What was the one he bought today? It was like the Jinn pirate, like Jinn DJ
like the evil genies. Yeah.
Jinn pirate or something like that. It was on the cover of the.
Is he just
Kindle.
buying books based off of the cover picture?
Oh yes, 100%.
Like that one has a genie on it. Click.
It was a lady. It was a lady pirate.
Oh. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he knew. He knows what he wants.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
But then he also bought a book called Where the Dogs Lie.
Oh.
I'd have to go look it up again.
Not Where the Red Fern Grows.
It looked like some kind of and again, romance. Some kind of romance drama. I don't understand. Anyway. Yeah, so my Kindle is full of books that I have to swear to my wife that I did not buy myself. So far, my impressions of Last Shot, it's having not read any of the new Thrawn book, but having read the first one, I would say if it comes down to Last Shot and Thrawn, the new Thrawn, and you've already read all of the ones that are amazing, like Aftermath, and not that I would know, and Tarkin, and all these other books that have come first.
Yeah.
If you're caught up to that and it comes out of these 2 books, I would say go with Thrawn. The Last Shot is good. It's really funny. I was surprised.
Really?
It's genuinely funny, but it's like a young adult novel. Okay. It's not that it's written badly, but it's written like a young adult novel.
Is that because of the age of the characters?
No, because it goes from Han 20 years ago.
That's right.
Han and Lando 20 years ago to current time.
That's right.
Like Force Awakens age. But before the separation. It's when Ben was, I think, 2 years old. Okay. So it's before Han and Leia are still together. The First Order isn't really a thing yet. It's kind of that time period. But it's older Han, you know.
Right.
But yeah, but it's cutting back and forth really rapidly. And it's like going from 5 years ago to 20 years ago to current time, like chapter by chapter. It's
just
cutting,
jumping around between.
Yeah, it just feels really frantic.
Okay.
And just kind of like I said, it's really funny, but the way it's written, it's kind of, it feels dumbed down a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to describe unless you actually read it. So I would say this is one of those books, like I felt this way about Heir to the Jedi too, where it was fun to read, and I'm glad I read it when I was done. But there are better Star Wars books out there.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, Where the Crawdads Sing was the other book.
He's into Bayou romance.
Looking to figure out what his crawdad does.
Nothing like a good old Bayou romance. Nothing
what was I saying?
Crocodile to turn you on.
So the other complaint I had was that it feels, in that vein of it feeling like it's a young adult novel, it feels like they're really trying to force in like hip and cool references. Like, yeah, this is a cool Star Wars book. This is relevant.
How so?
So they have a whole 2 pages dedicated to, they meet up with this Gungan and Han on some station, space station. And Han goes up, they see him, and Han is like, all right, I've got this. And he goes up and starts to say, hey, what's up, Misa? And like tries to do the whole Jar Jar.
He's racist.
Yeah. Okay. And then it goes off for 2 pages how the Gungan is don't judge a book by its cover, and I'm a different Gungan. And the way it's written, it actually seems like he has a Cockney accent, it was pretty funny.
How would that even look?
I'd have to go find some quotes. But
right. Okay.
It's that. But yeah, 2 pages of like, hey, you can't always judge somebody. You know, you gotta be considerate. And I don't know. It felt like a PSA.
Why is he a douchebag in the
it felt like an after school PSA is what it felt like. It felt really forced.
Huh.
And then there was another part where
like, oh, I should use this chapter to solve racism.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Like, this is a science fiction book about a fictional universe. I mean, science fiction. It's fictional science fiction, Tyler.
I see. I never knew.
There was that. There was another part where Han and Chewie are in an argument, and it literally says Han was about to clap back with blah, 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 something. His response to Chewie.
That's a very current term.
Yes.
Like, not like this year.
So in universe, clapping back is a real thing.
Okay, that's upsetting.
That pissed me off to read that. That was stupid. And then this one is a little, I'll be careful about what I say here, because I'm not trying to imply that I disagree with this practice in general. I'm talking strictly in universe here.
Racism?
No.
Okay. I'm not saying I disagree with that.
I am racist. I'll just say that.
Oh, okay, got it.
No, just kidding. It's a joke.
Internet.
That
was racist.
What? That was? They have a whole part where they address a character as they. Like their preferred pronoun is they.
Okay, yeah.
So, not that I disagree with that in it of itself, but the way it was written, there was no like that's
was it confusing as to if it was a singular character or not?
Okay. It's like because of how it was written and because there was it was just kind of dropped in there with no explanation, or I mean it could have just been a line about, I prefer you address me as they, or I don't know, something like that. It was just the way it was written made it seem like it was super forced, and like that was being forced into the book out of character for the situation, and that kind of stuff. Again, it's not that in and of itself that I have a problem with. It's that the way in universe how it felt. It just felt weird, and then the way it was written, it was extremely confusing to try to figure out what was going on.
Yes, and so I find that interesting because you didn't read all the aftermath books. Chuck has a character that has a non-gender specific pronoun.
Yeah. Non-binary is basically what this person was, right?
And he used I may be pronouncing this wrong, but Z, it's ZHE.
Okay.
Which is a
G?
What?
G maybe?
Maybe. Where that is it's a third person pronoun that does not specify gender.
Is that an in-universe thing, or is that a...
No, that's a real
like
writing. It's a real thing in the English language.
Oh.
But
now that would have been better.
Like he used, because that was, to be honest, that was the first time I'd ever seen that pronoun used. But it's not a she or he, it's G or Z.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? I looked it up, I was like, oh, it's a third person pronoun for a person.
Okay, that makes sense.
But where it does get confusing is they, where like, okay, is it one person or two people or multiple people?
And it was hard to keep track
of
what was going on. And you can't say it
because that's offensive, right?
Obviously.
So I think I find it weird, and I guess it's all writers. It's the writer's perspective and the writer's choice of words. But I in hearing that, I think Chuck's use of ZHE for a third person pronoun made more sense. At least for the written word to not be confusing as to.
That's what I'm saying, right?
How many people are we talking about here?
Right. This is a single person.
They can mean multiple things.
And in universe, the character is a human. So it's not like you're addressing an alien with multiple like multiple heads with different personalities, or something like that. This is a human character. Like trying to follow along with the story when they would, like Han would say something about this character and say they blah 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 blah, and it's like you're trying to figure out, oh wait, is there another character involved in what's happening, right? Like, So I had to get used to that. Just trying to like interpret what was actually being written.
Yeah.
So strictly from a grammatical standpoint, it was confusing, and it threw me off. So like I was saying before, it felt like not that having a non-binary character was forced, but the way it was written felt forced. Like this was language that was trying to be forced into this out of without any kind of context or what have you.
Interesting.
So anyway, like I said, if you have the choice between the two books, I would say go with Thrawn because
it's fantastic.
It really is good. I mean, I haven't read any of the second one yet.
The
first one is amazing.
I'm probably halfway through it still, just because I have children. If you ever have kids, just let me tell you, if you think you're gonna get anything done, ever. It's not. No, you can't.
Think again.
It's over. You can't do anything. You have to choose your time wisely, and just reading sometimes is not the thing I choose. I am going on a trip coming up for work that I hope to read, but that never happens either, so we'll see.
Usually what happens is you get back from dinner or drinking or wherever, and you get to the hotel room and immediately pass out.
Yeah, like, I'll read on the plane.
Yeah, exactly. I'll read when I get off of work.
Right.
Dead. Yeah. So anyway,
we'll see.
Like I said, this one feels like, again, I'm only halfway through. I still need to finish it. But this one so far feels like Heir to the Jedi, where it was a fun little, like it gives you little tidbits that build characters more, but it doesn't really affect anything. Like Thrawn is building a backstory for a character that is in stuff now,
Right.
Whereas we already have a lot of backstory on Han. We already have a good amount of backstory on Lando. So far it's not really even going into Cloud City stuff with Lando, like post Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Maybe that will happen later in the book. I don't know, but it's not. Yeah, it's kind of just an extra.
Which is really what it was, because it came out before the movie did, and right, or it came out around the same time as the movie did.
There are references to stuff in Solo in this book, so it's.
I think
I think it was right after. I think it was right after. Yeah.
So it was one of those, like, in addition to the film,
yeah.
there's more stuff.
I will say the character Sana, Han's wife, quote unquote, is
from the comics.
From the Star Wars comic. That main line, she's in it very heavily.
Okay.
In one of the timelines.
That's interesting.
L3 is in it pretty heavily in one of the the stories they tell. I
saw some people saying that the book made L3 a better character, possibly.
This book?
Yeah.
What they have so far, it fleshes her out a little bit more, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Maz is in it. They talk about
nice.
Maz and Han's relationship a little bit. Han is at her castle at one point when Sana comes in, and a whole storyline breaks out. That was interesting.
Nice.
So yeah, he hangs out there pretty frequently. What else? It goes over Han's relationship with Ben a little bit more, post Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
This was actually, it was a little surprising to me because I guess I didn't think of him relating to Ben in this way, but thinking about how it's written in the book and how he was in Force Awakens, it makes total sense now. But he's very like, I can't do anything right with this kid. Like, they say at one point, or Han is saying in the book at one point, that he feels like he can't be around the kid because he can never, he doesn't really know how to be a parent and always does the wrong thing. Give him toys.
And some of that too, I think, because I think I've read some stuff is because of the Force sensitivity stuff too, right? Where he's like, I don't understand any of that because I don't have that.
They haven't really covered that yet. They haven't mentioned anything. I mean, Ben might be too young. And Luke, so far, the only mention of Luke has been like one sentence. He hasn't really been involved at all.
But I think some of that standoffishness is also that where like Han's like, I don't know anything about what he's going through or feeling because of
maybe that happens later as he grows up.
I could see at least that. Later, where it's like I can't help him. I can't do anything with this at all. That's Leia knows about that.
Right.
He probably feels useless at that point.
But in that same like related to that, he feels like he can never do anything. He can never be a father for the kid in the way that he needs, in the way that Ben needs. Like he'll try to give him toys, and it's like, well, a kid shouldn't have a blaster gun, or, or like he'll try to take him somewhere, and it's like, well, that's not appropriate for a little kid. Like he doesn't really know how to be, like,
how to be a good dad.
What's appropriate or not? Yeah,
I guess.
But then he'll leave, and then Ben asks for him and wants him around, and so it's like he can never do anything right. He feels like he can never do anything right with Ben. So I could see how that just built up into Ben's teen years, and then being away with Luke and that whole thing, and that shaped Ben into what he is now.
Nobody loves me.
Right, and made Kylo the whiny bitch he is now.
Right.
He never really had a father that understood him. And then it also explains Han and Leia's relationship, where Han, like the book covers many times how Han just feels restless all the time and feels like he has to be out doing things.
That's because before he never stopped until now, right?
Right.
Being a smuggler is always running, or doing a job or something, and
he doesn't
finally sitting still, and it's not right.
And he doesn't feel comfortable, right? So that explains their relationship in Force Awakens. So that kind of stuff that's cool to have. But it's like I said, it's not. It's nothing we didn't already know. Yeah, it's not crucial information. Right. So anyway,
that's cool. I do plan on reading it at some point.
It's definitely worth reading. It's just like I said, it's go with the books that are going to be better first.
Well,
before this.
Yeah, both Thrawn books have been fantastic.
Yeah. So I'll continue reading that.
I don't believe you, but only time will tell.
I'll humor you.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I will accept that you said
read that book.
You
read all those words.
You go, girl.
You put all those words in your brain because you're a big reader.
So, Mars still needs moms. Because the internet refuses to stop. That everyone needs a mom all the time. And if you don't have a mom, you're pointless. That's what I get from this. That's what I get from the internet with Ray.
So, I think it was on his podcast, but so Kevin Smith, I think on Fat Man on Batman, recently was talking about how I guess he hasn't read any theories on from what I gathered from this quote. He had not read any theories on 9 and Ray's parentage or anything like that. And
he supposedly doesn't know anything about it either. Yeah. Like from JJ or elsewhere.
So him and his co-host for the episode were talking, and his co-host was telling him for the first time, telling Kevin this theory about Carrie Russell being cast in 9, how she could be Ray's mom.
And how he thought she was going to be Ray's mom, right?
Right. Before they had that discussion, Kevin was talking about how good of a character Ahsoka was and how great it would be if they brought her back somehow. Because his point was now that Carrie's dead, Star Wars is lacking a strong female lead character.
Which apparently Ray can't be.
Okay. Apparently, I don't know. This is what he was saying.
That's what I keep gathering.
I guess not in the sense
Ray just cannot be the lead female. There's no possible way that she can be the lead female.
I don't know where he was going with that.
I know, but that's what I get from all of these stories.
So they had this Ahsoka conversation about how it'd be cool to bring her back because it would be this strong female lead that they've established in other places, other properties. And so now they start talking about this Carrie Russell casting and how that could be Ray's mom. And the co-host is like, oh, well, what if Carrie Russell is Ray's mom and Ahsoka? Like, just throws this...
Two completely pointless things that have no place in episode 9?
A theory that is popular because a bunch of idiots are just talking about it, that we've talked about on the show before, how it's stupid and everyone's dumb, and you're dumb for thinking that's true. You, listening.
Yeah.
And then now combining it with this thing that I guess he just pulled out of nowhere, because I've never heard this before, of bringing Ahsoka back and Ahsoka being Ray's mom somehow. How? Why? Would she be like, what would she be, like 60, 70 years old at this point?
I don't know.
Maybe a little younger. Maybe like what, 50?
How do
50, 60?
Twi'leks live?
I don't know. But so Ray is half Twi'lek, according to this theory that this guy on this podcast just threw out. This guy, how dare he? He's just on a podcast talking about theories. How could he?
Twi'leks are old age at 60, so basically humans.
Okay, so
yeah,
so it's this thing again, and now you've got Kevin Smith.
It's just every week.
Now you've got Kevin Smith throwing his weight behind this and talking about how cool this would be if this was real. And it's
every week.
I think the article went on to say that he actually wrote JJ an email or called him or something. Somehow got in contact with JJ and was like, hey, you should do this because it's cool. Basically.
Don't give him any ideas, please.
And it's like, we were talking about that a little bit.
I mean, we keep talking about it, but that's just because it is every week. Somebody else is like, oh,
it's just these stupid theories. I don't remember. Do you remember anything like this about Force Awakens or Last Jedi? Like theories that were just this dumb?
Just like any character I think that was announced, any actor that was announced for 8, I think they were like, oh, Ray's parents. I remember there being some of that.
Maybe it's worse now because we've had 2 movies.
Because now we're like, what? They gave an answer, but that's not true.
Well, we've had 2 movies now that have not
addressed it.
And even the latest movie has said, hey, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they're nobody.
Yeah, it went very out of its way to tell you that it doesn't matter. And everyone's like,
maybe that's okay.
Bullshit, it doesn't. They're going to tell us, right? But that's
exactly. They're going to tell us. Like demanding.
It's all a big joke. They didn't count.
Yeah, that's funny, but you're going to tell us.
Because
this movie is going to give me the answer I want.
Because it's owed to them.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But and it is a problem every week, and it literally is a problem that people are still like that's all they can latch onto, which I feel bad for Carrie Russell, unless it's true. That
she's Ray's mom.
So
do you realize? You cannot be saying that you think that.
I'm not saying that I think it's true, but I am saying you do know there is a possibility that it could be true.
I don't
like that could happen in this movie. We could get Ray's mom or dad or both. That could happen in this movie. And
how dumb would that be, though? How much retconning would that be?
Problem is, we're gonna suck it right up when it happens. We're gonna be like, "Oh, the mom!
Oh, it makes no sense.
Oh, I've needed this mom.
It makes so much sense."
Yeah, like it could happen, and it could be like, "Oh yeah, perfect." I don't want it to, because of what has happened, right? I don't want that to be the thing that happens. But
it feels
Carrie
like
Russell could be Ray's mom.
So you remember the feeling when
they could do that.
You remember the feeling in Solo where he goes up to the counter and the whole name thing comes out,
and it was dumb.
Han Solo.
Right. Yeah. That's how that part felt. That was
like
the only part of that movie that I was like, "Oh."
This feels like that, but times 10. Like, that's what this is going to be in this movie. That if the parents show up, it's going to be like such obnoxious fan service.
Why did you do that? That type of thing.
Yeah, and totally retconning what completely made sense in Last Jedi. If this happens.
And the problem is as much as Rian Johnson was like, he left everything that he did say could be left up to interpretation or could be used in a different way.
Yeah,
because he has to do that, right?
Right, but the answer.
And so JJ could then take that and twist it to be whatever he wants, and Kylo was lying, and it was just to try to get you to finger bang him or whatever he wants, and you know,
finger bang him.
All
right.
And you know, whatever he used it to try to get you to help him, to help himself, to help you, to help me, and it was all a bunch of lies. Your parents are actual gods. I mean, it could be anything.
But the answers he gave,
her parents were the Force brother and sister, and it's some incestuous child that they had.
But the answer Rian gave in Last Jedi, without twisting anything, is satisfying enough. It works just fine by itself.
From a storytelling perspective, it is a very compelling story because it's trying to empower people, right?
So, are you saying that if we did get her parents in 9, if Carrie Russell is her mom, for God forbid that we're both wrong about this, that would be a satisfying answer?
No.
Or would it be unsatisfying?
It would be like the Solo name, I think.
Okay.
I'm just saying it could happen. So we keep shitting on this, but if it happens, we're going to have to accept it.
I know.
Just like we accept that Han Solo's name is just farted out of this Imperial consignment
Han Alone
officer.
Man.
Yeah. Oh yes, Han Lonesome. Got it. Come on in. Welcome to the Empire.
Han by yourself guy. Let's see. Han by yourself guy. Enter, save.
Oh, sorry, we've already got one by that name. I'm gonna need another one.
Han Solo _3.
Yep, you're in. Welcome. I mean, it's so because yes, JJ could do whatever he wants to with 9, just like he did with Star Trek, and there's Beastie Boys in Star Trek. And over and over and over, there's Beastie Boys in Star Trek.
The same song for every movie.
And JJ could just make this the fun one for no reason, right? Like JJ could do that. I don't think anyone would let him because they've been so they've spent so much time on this movie and have gotten rid of directors and have gotten rid of writers, and it's just like this revolving door of trying to get 9 to be good.
See, that's such a scary thought. It's so scary.
They can do whatever they want to end the Skywalker trilogy. This is the last movie, right?
I know.
But
I don't remember feeling this scared about Force Awakens or Last Jedi.
No, you're right.
I remember feeling
because it wasn't the conclusion. I think is probably a big piece of
that
it.
Might have been it. Yeah, I remember feeling when we talked about this. I remember feeling when we go into the Last Jedi, we're going to come out very conflicted, and I think that was true. But for different reasons.
Fans came out conflicted.
I came out conflicted because it was not what I was expecting. I'll say that. Maybe
the more you've sat with it, you've. It's not an acceptance. It's like a realization of.
I'm not.
It's perfect.
Well, yeah, right. I'm not in the place that all these other idiots are about it, but I'm just saying it's. We came out of that, or at least I'll say for myself, I came out of that movie. I knew going into it, I would come out feeling some kind of conflict, and I did going out. But this is different. This is like. This is a very scary feeling, knowing that
it's the end of the Skywalker.
You're bringing back Mr. Blockbuster to finish out this franchise that has been set up in an amazing way,
right,
by Ryan.
Yeah, and that's something I was thinking about for all of the things that I didn't like a lot about Last Jedi.
Not finishing out the franchise, but finishing out the saga.
The saga, yeah. Right. For all of the things that Last Jedi, I wouldn't say did wrong. For all the things that I didn't like about Last Jedi, like some of the stuff with Rose and Finn and Poe and DJ, specifically DJ.
And oh my God, DJ.
not just the stuff with them going to Fancy Town, mostly just DJ. But for all the things that I didn't like about The Last Jedi, I think Last Jedi is the most, for me, I think Last Jedi is the most
innovative
Star
Wars movie.
Yes, but I was thinking more on like an emotional level. It's probably the most emotional and most that made me think.
Yes,
about
absolutely
Star Wars.
Yeah,
in an emotional way, not because
it's just an onion. You every time you watch it, you peel it open, and these concepts that were introduced.
It's like concepts that have
so many levels.
It's concepts that have been there the whole time with Star Wars that they just I think made more.
But I guess because they were deconstructed a little bit in that movie. Like the idea of the Force, the idea of the Jedi's obligation to do good, and all that stuff. It was all kind of deconstructed in that movie.
But even just that. I mean, I guess Luke had some of that, very little of it. Obviously, in the original trilogy, it was a different time. And I think the time we live in now, this is of this time. But just the acceptance, the self-acceptance, and the understanding yourself and coming to terms with yourself and coming to terms with just you can be anyone. Like the message of The Last Jedi, I think was the most outward message of any Star Wars movie that wasn't just like an in-universe message, right?
Yeah,
where it was like it was an effective message, and it affected me in just the way that message was conveyed. Maybe it wasn't just a in-story thing for the characters, but more of this shit is real and it affects you and it affects other ones, and it's not this unobtainable thing, and you may have come from nothing, but you can be anything. It was a message that Star Wars hasn't.
And in the opposite...
It's a message Star Wars has always had, but I feel like it was a very effective use of the message.
And the other part of that is it was inspired by real world stuff, too. The things Luke was going through felt extremely real and relatable. So it was inspired by real stuff, and then, the output of it was, it had a message of this, here's what you can apply to yourself, Right. It was a very relatable movie. Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I think it was the most relatable to the real world Star Wars movie, which maybe is why people are like, I pay money to see these fantasy films and not feel about myself or understand that I'm a shitbag.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, all the other...
I come here to suspend my disbelief.
I think the original trilogy had that sort of stuff,
they've
too.
They've all had those messages to some degree, that same messages.
It's watered
but I feel like
it
was much more applicable. I don't know.
Yeah,
just in the way it was told, I felt like it was more applicable.
Maybe.
Which maybe that's why people hate it, because it's all about acceptance and
maybe
acceptance and understanding yourself. And
so anyway,
anybody can be cool.
Going into this movie, it feels different. It feels like we could lose all of that.
Lose the effective,
yeah.
lose the effectiveness of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
To popcorn.
And as fun as Force Awakens is, it's kind of an empty movie in a way. Like it doesn't have that substance that Last Jedi has.
It is emotional in the way of it feels right, but not emotional in its storytelling.
Yeah, right.
It was what it needed to be to bring back Star Wars, which we keep saying.
Right.
Which for me personally, it is definitely what needed to happen for Star Wars to come back, and that's why it was able to come back as strong as it did. And I will continue to watch Force Awakens because it is very fun.
It's still a good rewatchable movie, sure, but it's empty or emptier than Last Jedi.
And I can't watch The Last Jedi like I watched The Force Awakens. If I'm gonna watch The Last Jedi, I need to sit down and watch it.
Right.
Whereas The Force Awakens, I can just turn on and do whatever else I'm doing, and absorb the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet with The Last Jedi with that, just because it is very.
It's like the difference between putting on Pink Floyd's The Wall and putting on Thriller.
I guess
you could vacuum to Thriller. You can't really clean your house.
There's just something so serious.
You have to listen to the whole
something
thing.
Underneath all of it that's happening that you need to pay attention to.
Right.
Yeah.
So with this, I'm worried we're gonna end up with
you're gonna get the popcorn fluff
Thriller 2
up.
Electric Boogaloo.
But like I said, they put so much time into 9 and making these decisions, these hard decisions of we can't make this movie because it's not being we can't fix the script, so we need to bring in these other people.
Yeah.
And I don't.
And I mean, not all of that is their fault. Not that. I mean, Carrie dying really threw a wrench into everything.
That took everyone by surprise because it was so out of nowhere.
Not to sound insensitive, but it really ruined a lot of stuff that could have been good.
Thanks for that.
Is that?
I mean, it obviously it was a giant surprise for everyone, so they had to redo all the stuff they had planned.
Just like me, I'm a giant surprise for everything. For everyone.
Oh no. But they put, like I said, they put so much time and effort into it that I can't believe it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
However, they could do many things to make it bad, which is, I guess, the scary part. Is that the unknown?
There's so much potential for it to be amazing, but yeah.
But also, it's the guy that made Star Trek.
Exactly.
But he also made Super 8, which is a fantastic movie, and he also made Cloverfield, which is a fantastic movie.
But have you watched Cloverfield recently?
It doesn't hold up as well as it originally did.
No, and neither
I think Super 8 holds up fantastically.
I need to see that again. I have not watched that again.
Super 8 is just the new ET for this generation, and I would watch that again anytime. It's like the Mission Impossible movies, the later ones. JJ has been involved in a lot of those, right? Yeah, popcorn action movies.
Yeah, you can watch them and they feel great. And
I've seen some
amazing.
in theaters, and I could not tell you what the story was.
Exactly.
I could tell you what happened.
I can't remember what. I think I've seen all of them, but I can't remember what happened in the last 3 Mission Impossible movies. Right. And watching them again, who cares? Why would I want to do that?
I'll go back and watch the original anytime. I love the original Mission Impossible.
I'm talking about the new ones.
The new ones, yeah. I've seen a few of the newer, in the last few years. Maybe the one before last, where I couldn't tell you if there was a villain. Yeah. Couldn't tell you if there was a story or a reason they were in the desert or climbing the building. But they did all that stuff.
The desert.
Maybe that was 3 ago or 2 ago.
Was there a desert in? See, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't know. There could have been.
There was a sandstorm, I think, at one point. And then he climbed a big building in India or something.
I don't know.
And then he swung around and made a jump. That's what I've got for you.
I think I remember that.
So, but JJ's able to do that, I think, where he can just pump out these action blockbuster films that still make a shitload of money.
And some of them are really good.
But then he also makes these and produces, specifically on a production side, because I think that's probably helpful to think about too, of him producing these other movies that, like Cloverfield Lane.
He's not necessarily crafting the story and everything for it end to end.
Yeah, but
is that what you're saying?
Especially with the Cloverfield stuff, I would from his producer standpoint, with stuff like that he created, I would assume he would have some more of a hand in, at least in.
Oh, you think so? I would think on the producer side, he would have creative input, but not necessarily be the one.
But I think the fact that he has that creative input and the creating with the writer that he's working with too, that I think that helps, especially because the stuff that he does produce is not just Star Trek and Mission Impossible and stuff like that. It's like Cloverfield Lane, which is a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
And like he made Super 8, which I think is a fantastic movie. Yeah, just this stuff like that he's producing with Bad Robot. I think there's a lot of good movies out of that studio.
Yeah.
That he produces and has a creative input on that. Like I trust the stuff that JJ makes.
Yeah.
But he also made Star Trek. And it just comes back to that. Really, that's the problem. I think of Star Trek and I'm like, oh wait, that could happen.
You know, the first thing that I think about when I think about the new Star Trek movie is Spock's ship. That's got like, it's like a gyroscope.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's like got 8 spinning wheels. That's the only thing I can think of when I think.
So now the only thing I can think about 9 is the first time we that Rey and Kylo like face down each other is Sabotage starts like dang. Like Sabotage starts playing in the background, just building.
How does Sabotage go in your mind? No, don't look it up.
The beginning is like it's just like that like dang. There's like that like it starts with that like there's like that beat that it keeps hitting and then it like picks up into the song.
How does the rest go?
Come on, y'all! It's a Sabotage.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Get on the train. It's a Sabotage.
Get on the train. Is this train sabotage?
Come on, ride the train. Sabotage. That's the song, right?
Is this a character named Sabotage?
I have no idea.
The song makes sense now. So it's like the song is it's like a group of buddies welcoming somebody that shows up.
It's about a hobo named Sabotage who they're inviting onto their train to let's go on a hobo adventure. And they're going to teach him about all the hobo language and the signs and that's what the song's about, right?
It makes more sense now.
Otherwise, I have no idea.
When you said that's how it starts, I thought you were thinking Master of Puppets.
Oh, no. I'm trying to see if I can.
You can't play that. You can't play that song.
And it's like
that's not what you just did. You did.
It starts with the bang.
Technically, every song then.
So I just think like Rey and Kylo facing down is silent, and then suddenly like, and then I'm just gonna get up and walk out. If Sabotage comes on, you're gonna
will walk out of the movie. Okay. I mean, I have my limits. I think the podcast is gonna have to end. Can we make that pact? If Sabotage shows up in a trailer or in the actual movie,
in the trailer,
we have to end this podcast. We're done with Star Wars.
If a Beastie Boys song is in a Star Wars trailer or in the film, the podcast just has to stop. We're done. What's the point of this?
We're agreed.
That will ruin my childhood. I've always been vehemently against things ruining someone's childhood because it doesn't make sense, but that would definitely do it. If anything could, the Beastie Boys could.
That would be throwing it in the toilet.
Which it wouldn't happen because John Williams is writing the music for 9. I know. But maybe he hasn't finished scoring the last song and he dies and then JJ's like, I've got a song. He just throws it in. There's Sabotage. In Star Wars. Forever. For all of us to hate. It can't happen. It can't happen. There's no possible way.
There are other ways to ruin this movie, though.
That would be the worst. That would be the worst possible way to ruin this movie.
Yes.
I would take Rey's mom over Sabotage any day.
Which, let me go back to that real quick. I will say, I have never done this before, but when we were talking about the possibility that JJ could introduce things into 9, specifically because fans are calling for it.
Sure.
People like Kevin Smith, for example, which I love Kevin Smith.
Great guy.
Not as much as I used to, but I love him. Forget the Star Wars stuff. Like, his last few movies have been terrible.
Yes.
He's a great guy, though.
He lost his weight and his skill at movie making.
His weight loss is incredible. That has nothing to do with it for me. That blows my mind. That's incredible. Good for him.
You need some self-deprecation.
Those jorts were not fooling anybody. Anyway, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say I've never done this before, but when we were talking about that, I defended George Lucas.
Oh, when you and I were talking about that personally,
in spite of what the fans wanted. Putting stuff in the movies that he knew the fans wouldn't like and did it
because
anyway.
It serviced the story.
Yes. I can totally respect that. And that's honestly what I would want from JJ in this case. But
yes,
would he do that? Or
would it's not just him though. It's not just him. It's Kathleen and the story group, and
that honestly scares me even more.
Iger as well.
That scares me even more when it's up to a corporation, quote unquote, to make those decisions.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust like the final word to be with Iger, obviously, but Kathleen Kennedy, I have full 100% support of her and the decisions she has made.
I feel like if it's with Disney as a corporation or even just Bob Iger, they're going to go with whatever makes them the most money, which is going to be catering to a bunch of idiots.
But if they did that, The Last Jedi wouldn't have been made the way it was.
Possibly. Yeah. I don't know if they were anticipating the reaction to that.
Probably not, but they made the best movie.
Yeah.
Which I think Kathleen is, look at her track record, like that's what she does. She produces good movies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So from that like creative input and decision making, I think that falls directly to Kathleen. I'm calling her Kathy now. To Kathleen.
Oh, Kathy over here.
Hey, Kathy. It falls to Kathleen, and I completely trust her because I had no hope for Solo. And if it had come out with Chris and Phil, it would not have been. It probably would have been worse. And obviously, she made the right decision because it was an enjoyable film that I actually like.
That they were able to save somehow.
Yeah,
and they pulled a fairly good movie out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I
completely
her decision making has been spot on, and I completely trust her.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, hopefully it. I don't know. Hopefully she'll correct
We've got a whole year and a few months to still sit on this and soak in our hatred.
So long.
But until then, we should stop for tonight.
Until then, that's enough.
But for now,
no more.
I'm done.
For now, no more. Expect more.
No more until next time, unless Sabotage happens.
And then
not physical sabotage, but the actual song.
And then
silence.
Finished.
Yes. Well, this is enough for episode 80. If you enjoy our podcast, you can go to iTunes or other place that allow ratings to be submitted and do that for other people to be able to find the show. You can also find us on Twitter at Hokey_religion and the Facebooks and the YouTubes and the other things that make noise. Specifically, you can email us at asklobot@hokeyreligion.com if you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, or input. You can also go to patreon.com/hokeyreligion to support the show. And even with just as little as one-time gift of $2.50, we'll mail you a sticker of the podcast logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I believe I said all of the things that are contractually obligated that I wrote and signed for myself.
Let's read these ads that we have from our sponsors. Just kidding.
That'll never happen. Have you listened to this podcast?
It's bad.
Yeah. Then who would sponsor this noise?
It's bad.
80 episodes of pure noise.
Goodbye.
That's the Hokey Religion promise. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Goodbye.
We'll see you later.
Goodbye.
Hokey Religion is an ancient weapon. Weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.